in the squadron. They called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Oh, boy. I see it again. A little baby being buried. Little baby Corey. Remember her, the 7-year-old? 7-year-old. Not really a baby, but a baby girl. Somebody's baby girl shot in a grocery store by a stray bullet fired by some maniac on a moped. Remember that? Settling some stupid beef, right? Firing wildly. And she's dead, the burial. And I saw the coffin. It's got Mickey Mouse on it. And, you know, just beautiful. And I think to a little boy who died at the age of 1 a couple of years ago, 1. And I remember they put Coco Melon. Coco Melon is a popular character and just terrible. I remember talking to a funeral director once. And I said, what's the hardest part of your job? You got to get used to death. And he said, well, you do. But and I could see he kind of looked off and for a moment. And he said, when you see a small coffin, you know, a tiny coffin, that's something that kind of, yeah, I can understand. Violence. And it's happening. They're trying to paper over it at 1PP and City Hall and the rest as they accumulate their status and power and prestige and seek higher office. That's what's happening. The people be damned. They don't give a damn. They care about themselves. Oh, Kathy Hochul. Ooh, how are we going to handle Kathy Hochul? Blow her up. Blow her out of the water electorally. Yeah, she's obviously just the worst thing in the world for New York City. Terrible in every way. But here we are watching Mamdani and Commissioner Tisch, Jessica Tisch, play this little silly game. Both are in way over their heads. They have no idea. And people will die. I heard her say, oh, we get along well and New York is safer for it. No, actually, your weirdo relationship takes up too much time, too much bandwidth of the New York City Police Department and the executive team there. You know, it's just, you should just do the job, but you can't. You got to worry about Mamdani and your relationship. It's disgusting. It's very disgusting to me. All right, so we have something going on. Is a peace deal at hand? We're going to have this a lot. You know, will the peace deal is about to happen? A peace deal is not about to happen. Peace deal looking great. Peace deal looking not so great. I heard a few minutes ago that, hey, we could be close to a peace deal with Iran. Maybe, maybe not. Let's see here. No ships have passed U.S. blockade on Iran in first 24 hours. More than 10,000 sailors, Marines, and airmen were involved in the mission, as well as more than a dozen warships and aircraft, the U.S. Central Command said. Hey, thanks for the update, by the way. Thanks for the update. You know, I looked back. Gulf War I. Who remembers Stormin, Norman Schwarzkopf? There was a guy named General Johnston. There was General Kelly. These guys became superstars. Why? Because they briefed every single day. They let people know what the hell was going on. And there's something not right about this. They are playing a game. They leak to certain reporters. They don't. It's. I don't like being strung along, jerked around. I feel like I support this war. I like what they're doing. But at the same time, this is not Russia. This is not the Soviet Union. You know, that we should have. You got to tell us what's going on. Ooh, I'm watching a reporter get beat up on TV. What's her name? Savannah Hernandez. I like her. But, I mean, let's face it, a lot of these reporters go right into the middle of a mob and start saying things that the mob doesn't like, and they're, you know, surprised that they get punched in the face. Now, it's never all right to punch somebody in the face. But if you go inside the middle of a protest and you say things that are at odds with what they want, it could happen. And it's one of the things why we watch these things. They go viral. They get a lot of attention. You know how a blockade works, right? How a blockade works? I am a little bit fuzzy on it, actually. The mechanics of it, you know, it's basically, have you ever been water skiing? They've got something called the Bay Constable. This is out in Peconic Bay on Long Island, the Bay Constable. And he can bust you for a lot of things. He can bust you for drinking. He can bust you for being on the wrong side of the buoy. I'm not a big nautical guy, but they have the Bay Constable, and they can say, you know, ahoy, pull over, that kind of thing. And let's see here. Where do we got? It sounds a little bit like this, at least back in Cuba. Cut 1, 1962. How does it work?
90 miles from Florida, Castro's Cuba finally provoked the United States to quarantine the island. This forceful action was triggered by evidence gathered by U-2 plane reconnaissance. Aerial films revealed the presence on Cuban soil of offensive Russian nuclear weapons. It was a reckless gamble to which President Kennedy reacted swiftly. He ordered the fleet to turn back or seize ships attempting to augment this aggressive buildup.
Huh. Okay. Is that how it works? Well, whatever they do, and part of it is just sending the message, hey, we have a blockade. The blockade itself, that does most of the work. Let's see here. What else do we have going here? I want, looks like that peace deal rumor is not, but the negotiations are not in shambles. Yes, Vance walked away. He walked away, and you got to be ready to do that. You got to walk away at times. Let's see here. Vance, this is not the end. Some people said it was the end. No, this is just what you do during negotiations. Cut 3, if you don't mind. Cut 3.
That is our final and best offer. We'll see if the Iranians accept it. Thank you.
Mr. Vice President, where does this leave the Strait of Hormuz?
Did you going back to Prime Minister Netanyahu at all today? What about the Strait of Hormuz?
All right. So, what is the final and best offer? My understanding is what we have. They can never develop a nuclear weapon. They can never build a nuclear weapon. Well, put an asterisk next to never. Ultimately, they're going to revisit this issue. Right? Iran could someday be a nuclear power. Someday be a nuclear power. We're willing to accept that. We're willing to accept that. The United States is. But when are they allowed to become a nuclear power? We're insisting on 20 years. You got to wait 20 years before you guys even start thinking about a nuclear weapon. They are thinking 5 years. We want 5 years. My guess is they're going to settle on 15 years. Maybe 12 and a half. Could you live with that? I could live with that, actually. A lot can happen in 12 and a half years. The government could be overthrown. There could be democracy. There could be a lot of things. Who knows? And in the meantime, we watch them like a hawk as far as the nuclear goes. I think it's going to work out sooner rather than later because this blockade is a very intense thing. They can't have this. They can't have more strife inside their country. It is choking them economically, a country that was already on life support economically. Listen to this from I don't want to say the good people at Al Jazeera. They're a little bit suspect, aren't they? Al Jazeera back in January reporting on big protests in Iran that came about via economic hardship. And now there's more economic hardship possibly than ever before. Cut 5.
Defiance burning bright across Iran. 2 weeks of demonstrations against soaring inflation and a plunging currency have spiraled into the worst unrest the country has seen in 3 years. A crackdown by security forces followed. Most internet and telecommunications services have been cut since Thursday. The Attorney General is warning anyone involved in the protests could face the death penalty.
Wow. This is could face the death penalty for protesting against your government. That's an authoritarian regime. And that's not how we roll. But I never thought of it before. We need that Second Amendment. And Ron Johnson is the guy who put it in my head. We need the Second Amendment as a check on the government. That's what our founding fathers had in mind. That sometimes in armed citizenry, the government should be afraid of the people. The people should not be afraid of the government. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thought. And here's Ron Johnson on that very, very matter, if you don't mind. Cut 6, please. Cut 6.
We've got 200,000 people in the IRGC, 600,000 people in the Basij police force. They are brutal. By the way, this is exactly what nationwide gun control results in. The Iranian people are completely disarmed. It's going to be very difficult for them to rise up.
Second Amendment, baby. That's why we need it. Now, so this is ongoing. They're going to figure it out. The blockade is working, and this could be over soon, or it could be another month or so. I don't know. Unfortunately, we don't know much. We're not getting a steady stream of reliable information. I'm okay with that to a point. You can't know every single thing that's going on. Some things have to be secret. It's not good to negotiate on the front page of a newspaper. But as far as the military operations, we were underserved, totally underserved. And that leads to all kinds of things: speculation, conspiracy, distrust of the government. I don't want that. No. All right. How do we feel about the whole thing with Pope Leo and President Trump? And the more I hear about everything, and the more I see that thing that President Trump posted on Truth Social, the more I like Trump. All right. The more I'm on Trump's side. Pope Leo being so political, so nasty. So you think he's playing a game here? He's calling out MAGA Republicans. Pope Leo, the American Pope, who's Pope because he's American, because President Trump is in office. They thought this would be a good counter. They'd have somebody like Pope Leo to stand up to Trump. Well, it hasn't really worked because nobody's thought about Pope Leo since he became the Pope. Cut 22. Make that cut 14, please. Cut 14. This is Pope Leo.
It's important to look at many issues that are related to what is the teaching of the church. Someone who says I'm against abortion but says I'm in favor of the death penalty is not really pro-life. So someone who says that I'm against abortion but I'm in agreement with the inhuman treatment of immigrants who are in the United States, I don't know if that's pro-life.
See, it's interesting. He's coming after one party. What about the party that says, well, they're pro-abortion and against the death penalty? What about them? Is that every much the contradiction? According to your reasoning, Your Holiness? I'm sorry, but and also I read the faith differently. I read the New Testament differently than he does. Now, and this is not a matter, is this a matter of doctrine? I don't think it's a matter of doctrine. Is the Pope infallible here? No, not when you go trolling MAGA Republicans just like that. And the brother of this guy, Lou, is MAGA all the way. I know it sounds a little bit, it's a little uncomfortable, but this is the world we live in. And I'm sorry, after Pope Francis started frolicking around the stage with the drag queens, did you ever see that? He did it. Did you ever see Pope Francis when he hit that woman? He did it. He slapped a woman. Is that against church doctrine? I wonder. Let me just see this. Is the death penalty in the United States against the teachings of the New Testament? Let's give the old AI a crack at this. No, the death penalty is not clearly or explicitly against the teachings of the New Testament. Now, I said this yesterday, and I kind of wung it. I'm familiar enough with the New Testament to know it doesn't say that quite, it doesn't say that. The New Testament does not prohibit it outright, nor does it issue a direct command to abolish it. Instead, the texts present a nuanced picture that Christians have interpreted in different ways for centuries, leading to ongoing debate among denominations and theologians. Here's a straightforward breakdown on key passages and principles. Okay, well, look, I got the point. There's no definitive. It's not definitive. It doesn't say that, Pope. I'm going to have to straighten out the Pope on this. I'll let the president straighten out the Pope on that. Cut 13, please. Cut 13.
Why did you attack Pope Leo on Truth Social?
I don't think he's doing a very good job. He likes crime, I guess. We don't like a Pope that's going to say that it's okay to have a nuclear weapon. We don't want a Pope that says crime is okay in our cities. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo.
It's fine. You're allowed to say these things. Pope Leo is a guy. He's a guy, and he became the Pope, via an angel did not come down and anoint him Pope. It was a vote, right? Men voted for him. And the Cardinal College there. Now, there's the other thing about President Trump posting that image of him appearing like let's just say a Christ-like figure. President Trump says, actually, it was a doctor. It was a physician. You've seen the image, right? Hey, let me ask you something. If the image is blasphemous, which it isn't, but if it is, Why are all the TV shows running it all the time? And why am I seeing it debated and it pops up all the time? If the image itself is blasphemous, so they're proving my point. It's not blasphemous. All right. It's not. And there are actually many volumes, books, famous books about the value of imitating Christ, imitating him, being like him, thinking like him. What would Jesus do? Hit it if you don't mind. This is President Trump saying it was all a big misunderstanding.
Mr. President, did you post that picture of yourself depicted as Jesus Christ?
Well, it wasn't depicted. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So I just heard about it, and I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better, and I do make people better. I make people a lot better.
All right, the fake news, well, there are a lot of people. But I got to tell you, people who are on his side, like me, and Riley Gaines, the gymnast, right? Look, if my brother posted something annoying on social media, I'm not going to publicly say, I disavow my brother's tweet, I must condemn it. I'm not, no, it's my brother. All right, I'm going to cut him some slack. Cut the president some slack. Be right back.
Greg Kelly.
Let's go, Brandon.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Oh, boy, he's in trouble now. One of the accusers of Eric Swalwell is speaking live on television from her lawyer's office. I can't tell exactly where she is. She's in California. We're going to listen to her. I have a feeling she's sitting next to Gloria Allred. And when you're sitting next to Gloria Allred, your credibility is already canceled. Sorry. But let's hear what she has to say.
What occurred? It was a politically unusual and intense time in Beverly Hills. And I was considering a run for city council, which placed me in proximity to political figures and events and added to the pressure to remain composed and silent. Eric was aware I owned a software company, and he spoke repeatedly about his ability to make introductions in Silicon Valley.
I would be so embarrassed to introduce
referencing his
people to Silicon
political
Valley.
Representation and influence there. I was not interested in him romantically, but I was interested in the business relationship and professional connections he offered to provide. My delay in taking action against Eric was driven by fear, not doubt. Fear of his political power, his background as an attorney, and his family law enforcement ties. I have never doubted what happened. I stand with the other women who have come forward. And I will be making a report to law enforcement shortly with my attorneys. I think you have to switch places with Eric. I gotta go
Hello, my name is Eric Fudali. I'm a partner and I'm the managing attorney of the Bloom firm, and I'm very proud here to represent Lana. Mr. Swalwell and others have suggested that the allegations against him have or may have political motivations. Those on the other side of the aisle have already begun exploiting his accusers for political gain. I want to say very clearly that neither myself, Lisa, nor Lana care or concern ourselves with the political affiliation of the accused or how these allegations may or may not affect a political campaign or a career. This is about much more than politics, and belittling such serious allegations is offensive to Lana and the victims everywhere.
What do I care from
Lana? This is not about Democrat versus Republican. This is about accountability versus silence. This is not about the pursuit of governor This is about the pursuit of justice. This is not about whether you're on the right side or the left side of the aisle. This is about whether you're on the right side or the left side of justice, truth, and accountability.
And part of that
this
is
is not
fairness.
about the end of a
Who is this
campaign or
self-righteous
congressional
jerk?
service. This is about the end of exploitation and the abuse of power, political or otherwise.
Power.
Lisa and I have dedicated our careers to fighting the power in the name of justice, regardless of the politics of the perpetrator. My hope is that this message both encourages others who are suffering in silence to stand up and fight, and also I hope this encourages the grossly politicized American public and politicians to put politics aside when it comes to allegations like these and stand up for what is right and not what is just politically convenient.
Well, maybe you ought to talk to your client about that. Her client just said, "Oh, I'm running for office. I was worried." Oh, Lisa Bloom, Harvey Weinstein's ex attorney.
Hi, I am attorney Lisa Bloom.
Yep, I got your
and
number.
I'm very proud to represent the very brave and strong woman sitting next to me today, Lana Drews. Lana deserves what all women deserve: autonomy over her own body. Every minute of every hour of every day of her life, her body is hers to control. And no man, no matter his position of power or station in life, ever has the right to make that decision for her.
I don't think anybody's disputing that.
As her attorney, I have advised Lana of her legal rights. Immediately, we will be filing a police report with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office, which is the law enforcement agency that has jurisdiction over incidents that happen in West Hollywood.
They didn't already?
Lana is committed to fully cooperating with law enforcement.
Finally.
And we will do everything possible to assist and support her in that.
Just remember where her last client
We will be
wound
providing
up.
all of her evidence
Prison.
there, including text messages, journal entries, photograph, and witness information. We will encourage the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office to fully and promptly investigate her complaint. We will also cooperate with any other law enforcement agencies who are investigating Mr. Swalwell. For example, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which we understand has already opened an investigation. Because Lana and our law firm are here not just for her, but for the other women, to be helpful in any way that we can. We will not rest until we get justice for Lana.
Justice for Lana.
I want to say something now directly to Mr. Swalwell. Your recent statement that you are just not perfect, you are not a saint, is just blather and spin. Stop it. Your statement that this is all just a matter between you and your wife is laughable, if not for the fact that it is a slap in the face to the victims. Your statement yesterday that you just made, quote, mistakes in judgment is defensive and minimizing. Stop it.
Stop it!
Your behavior.
Man's allowed
To any other women
protest
out there
his innocence.
who want to talk to us, and I have received messages from other women, we are here to talk to you. To anyone else who is a witness who wants to talk to us, we are here and we want to talk to you. Of course, for free and confidentially. I am very easy to reach via my website, thebloomfirm.com.
I think I'll send her a message. How's Harvey, your last client? Harvey
Supporting
Weinstein.
women like Lana who stand with the other women and who show such tremendous courage is my absolute pleasure.
Pleasure?
Questions?
Could you please spell your client's name and also
Yes.
tell us when this occurred?
It happened in 2018, as she said.
Jeez.
Her name is Lonna, Lonna, Drews, Drews.
How many people have reached out to you that you just mentioned, and have you heard from Mr. Swalwell? He says he's going to fight these allegations.
3 other women have reached out to me just since I announced this press conference yesterday. I have not heard from Mr. Swalwell, no.
Swalwell has dropped out of the race for governor. He's resigned from Congress. What's the next form of justice for you? Because those would be what people would say. That's the political motivation. What's justice now?
Justice now are the criminal investigations.
Lonna Drews is a former
losing
actress?
one's job is not a sufficient consequence for these types of allegations. We feel that the criminal investigations are the priority.
So, Lisa, are you representing
Yeah,
both
priority.
civilly and criminally? And
8
do you
years
think
later.
Eric Swalwell should face criminal charges for this incident?
We are making a report to law enforcement. We are encouraging them to fully investigate. That is the priority right now.
Will you be filing that today? Will you be going to law?
We will be going immediately.
What's your message?
Actress, L.A., New York, fashion model, tech entrepreneur, artist, and lover.
You know, I
Glass
have
ceiling
nothing but
breaker.
sympathy for his wife and his children.
I don't care
I'm sure
who
this
you
is a
are,
very
where you
difficult
come from.
time.
Nobody should be assaulted. But, I mean, this is kind of impossible.
Are they based in California or are they elsewhere?
I'm not going to provide any additional details or information about the 3 who have already reached out.
What legal hurdles do you anticipate in this investigation?
That'll be up to the law enforcement. Our priority at this point is just to make sure that Lonna makes the complaint, makes the report to law enforcement. How they handle the investigation, their strategy, and what hurdles they may, they may find is up to them.
Lisa, often these victims, these women feel that no one will listen to them, no one will believe them. When this news broke over the weekend, did this give your client the feeling that someone would finally listen and it was time to come forward?
Thank you, Jim. You know, I think we've all learned enough to know now that when it comes to sexual assault allegations, it takes time for women or any victim to process what happened, to understand how to deal with the trauma, to work through it, and to get to a point where she is strong enough to come forward. It takes time. That's why the law has extended statutes of limitations, time deadlines to file, because the law recognizes that sexual assault allegations are different, and it just takes time. So for Lonna, now is the time.
Not
And even
really.
now, it's very difficult.
Not for most of our
Doing it.
history.
Ms. Drews, had you followed Eric Swalwell's political career, and if you're comfortable talking a little bit about how that made you feel, and just kind of seeing his face?
She's not going to be answering any questions.
Okay.
She had her statement. But
Can you answer
thank you.
that?
Thank you. Was she following his career? I don't know.
Ms. Bloom, I guess some who know Mr. Swalwell have suggested that he was living a secret life, a double life, and they were absolutely gobsmacked at all the accusations that have come. Whether in this particular instance, or perhaps in your experience, is that usually the case, that people who are around someone like him are just totally in the dark on this, or are there clues? Are there people who should have known something was wrong?
Well, it is very common when someone is multiply accused of sexual misconduct that the people around them don't know. That's very common. Or any kind of crimes. People on the street often say, I had no idea. So I think that's pretty common.
Do you have a message for the social media content creators who started publishing some of these allegations and helped these women to realize maybe for the first time that they were not alone in what happened?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you to the women on social media, to the women who have already come forward, to anyone who has been an advocate, anyone who has assisted. It's very hard to do this by yourself. And anyone who can support women, who can help them, who can advocate, who can speak out, it makes a tremendous difference. So thank you.
And I'll add to that. There's a phenomenon we see in our line of work. It's called collective empowerment, that when one woman comes forward or one victim comes forward against their abuser, it often empowers, like a domino effect, multiple other women to come forward. This is why Lisa and myself are always encouraging.
Yeah, maybe they smell blood in the water too, and a money grab. I am sorry. There's an adult woman right there. She waited 8 years to come forward. What about all the women she could have saved, right? If this is true, why wouldn't you? What was going on in 2018, right? Wasn't Me Too in full swing? When did that kick off? 2017, right? Yeah, I don't know. I think Swalwell is a bad guy, but this is crazy. Absolutely crazy. They did the same thing. Yep. I'll be right back.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is a rehabilitation job for Lisa Bloom, who is the daughter of Gloria Allred, by the way. So they did extend the statute of limitations for sexual assault. But you know why they did that? So they could have those kooky women come out of the 1970s and accuse President Trump, right? So E. Jean Carroll could wage her totally bogus case against President Trump. This is where that comes from. This is the kind of thing, I'm sorry, we can't help you. It was 8 years ago? Wow. Too bad you didn't say something then, because if your allegations are true, he probably did it again. And maybe you could have stopped that. Maybe you could have prevented that. What the hell? What the hell? Since when did women, where is this view? Who became convinced that women are somehow weak and subservient and don't have agency? I don't view it that way. It's funny. I heard somebody who said, well, she's only 24. So? Okay, that's an adult. Are you going to reclassify things? Oh, she's so young. Nobody says that about when I was 24, what the hell was I doing? I was busy. I was in the military. I was flying all over the place. No privacy, living in tents, on ships, the whole 9 yards. Nobody said, oh, Greg, you're too young for all of this. She's so young. I don't know, man. Yeah, it's funny. And now I get heat from my own side. Oh, why are you protecting Eric Swalwell? It's not Swalwell. It's us. It's human beings. It's America. That's what we should be worried about. Human beings in America. Citizens. Right now it's happening to your enemy. What happens when it happens to your friend? What happens when it happens to somebody you love? That's why I was so petrified, quite frankly, when what's-his-name was going down. Apparently, it looked like at the time, Justice Kavanaugh. They had that crazy, dilapidated woman, come out of the woodwork, literally, to accuse him of something that happened 40 years earlier without a shred of evidence, right? It was crazy, absolutely crazy. And they stopped the world to listen to her story publicly, right? The United States Senate. And the senators were afraid to question her, so they brought in a woman to do it for them. They brought in a woman, a prosecutor from Arizona. I see here in your biography you say you're afraid to fly, yet how many flights did you take to come to the testimony today? I'm triggered by that. No, I just want to know. Well, we flew from Milwaukee to Phoenix, and then we connected through Delaware. I mean, they take flight after flight after flight. Nothing in that story made sense. And they treated her with kid gloves because, after all, she's a woman. Why do we have to treat them like delicate flowers? I don't think the women I know don't want to be treated like delicate flowers. They can, right? Equality. Wasn't it all about equality? I can't believe it. It's upsetting to me. Oh, and back to Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh went to Harvard, Princeton, Yale. And then he had this wild list. He had this thing where he befriended women throughout his entire life. He had all these female friends, right? Like genuine friends, like buddies who were women. I can't do that. I don't really have that. I mean, now I do, but back then I didn't. Back then I couldn't, right? That was the whole point of Harry Met Sally. Can a man and a woman just be friends? For me, it was no. But for him, it was yes. It was absolutely yes. And he had all these amazing, accomplished women just writing amazing things about him. Harvard, Princeton, Yale, one of the biggest jobs in the White House, security clearances up the wazoo, women vouching for him. This is the kindest, most generous, most perfect guy I ever met in my life. And he was about to go down. And I thought, you know what? I didn't go to those schools. You know what? I don't have 100 women friends who are going to write me a note like that. I mean, what? What's going to happen to the rest of us? What's going to happen to the rest of us if this thing goes forward? Someone gets a little bit too close to power and boom, it's suddenly okay. And I want to play something for you because I suspect that this is a Biden operation. This is a Biden operation, possibly. You know, Biden, and I can't, gosh, my good friend Bill Stevenson, still in prison, suspected of murder. That, I believe, was a Biden operation. So it's 2019. Eric Swalwell delusionally thinks he can run for president. Now, they tell me he had no inkling that he'd actually win. He didn't think he'd win. But it beats working, right? Going in and out of meetings, raising money, receptions, cocktail parties, dinners, meetings, right? You don't pay for anything. Flying all over the country. Sounds fun. Why not? Get on stage and get to yell at Joe Biden. Remember when Kamala Harris did it during those debates? Well, so did Eric Swalwell, and he was right there on the stage. And he had one of those nasty smiles that isn't really a smile, like when he shows his fangs, like, I'm going to get you. This is 2019, Eric Swalwell, the presidential race, the Democrat nomination is in full swing. And Eric laid into Biden. Cut 16.
I was 6 years old when a presidential candidate came to the California Democratic Convention and said, it's time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans. That candidate was then Senator Joe Biden. Joe Biden was right when he said it was time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans 32 years ago. He's still right today. If we're going to solve the issues of automation, pass the torch. If we're going to solve the issues of climate chaos, pass the torch. If we're going to solve the issue of student loan debt, pass the torch.
Huh. Biden was standing there the whole time. He didn't like that one bit. I once heard Joe Biden say out loud, nobody F's with a Biden. He said F-U-C blank. Nobody F's with a Biden. I wonder. She says that her drink was drugged in 2018. This is totally unprovable. If she's a genuine victim of sexual assault, I feel bad for everybody involved, but that does not absolve her of responsibility to come forward in a timely fashion and make the case. You got to do that for other potential victims out there. I can't. So that's where we are with that. I don't know. I wonder how big this gets. Eric Swalwell is Eric Swalwell. He's a clown. It's not that powerful. You know who I'm going to talk to about all this? George Santos. Ex-Congressman George Santos. He served in the House with Swalwell. It's amazing. All the clamor right now about Swalwell, there was more. There was more about George Santos for lying about being on the volleyball team. Nobody accused him of assault or anything like that. Where are we on the... we're going to have a deal. Oh, just remember this. Ayatollah Khamenei, who's dead now, hates America. They all hate America over there, all of the mullahs and the rest. Now we'll skip that. Let me know when you guys get an agreement. It's always been a little bit tricky between an American president and a pope. And JFK took it a little bit too far. JFK was Catholic, right? He's running for president. Democrat nomination. He's running, and they say he can't get it. He's a Catholic. The last Catholic who ran for president was Al Smith, who lost by like a total landslide. And one of the reasons why he lost was he's a Catholic, was a Catholic. Al Smith, the great Al Smith dinner. So JFK had the same issue. And he had to say out loud that I will not listen to the Pope. It's interesting. He was in trouble politically for the idea that he would pay too much respect to the Pope. And now President Trump is in trouble politically for not respecting the Pope enough. Cut 12, please. Cut 12.
not what kind of church I believe in, for that should be important only to me, but what kind of America I believe in. I believe in an America where the separation of church and state is absolute, where no Catholic prelate would tell the president, should he be Catholic, how to act, and no Protestant minister would tell his parishioners for whom to vote.
Okay. And then there's one thing he said there that's a little bit troubling. He says it should be absolute. The separation between church and state should be absolute. And there are a lot of people out there, namely Democrats, who have taken that and they pretend it's in the Constitution. It's not in the Constitution. Our founding fathers don't think the Constitution works. If you have an atheistic society, this is all under God. God is in the Declaration of Independence, right? I think it's also in the Constitution, but separation of church and state is not in the Constitution. Now people have taken that. That was a real moment, and people thought it was a positive moment, right? And there will be no religion in politics. And the idea that your religion actually does guide you on a day-to-day basis, that was to be stamped out. You shouldn't. That's a bad thing to acknowledge. Total separation between church and state. Well, that's not what the founding fathers wanted. That is a bastardization and misrepresentation of some letter that was it Jefferson or somebody sent to some guy in Connecticut who used the phrase just once. And now we have, Christian groups that are chased out of schools and government buildings. They say you can't pray, say, in a federal building, I don't know, like the J. Edgar Hoover building. You can pray. Religious freedom. You will not negate our religious freedom. You're a Christian, you're a Jew, no matter where you are. You don't lose that when you walk into a government building. Anyway, that's a legacy of JFK. Yeah, he dissed the Pope so he could get power, and then I think he disempowered a lot of Christians across the globe for many decades to come. We'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?